Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. If we could stand for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good morning. Got a whole host of items this morning. We're going to start out with approval of the county board minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. Ms. Tabitha, do we have any additions or deletions to the agenda?
Not at this time.
None. I would look for a motion.
So moved. Second.
Discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. Our next item of business, and we do have a full schedule this morning. The next item of business is a public hearing dealing with the fee schedule. Mr. Bukowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. As you're well aware, we are proposing some changes, clarifications, and additions to the fee schedule. And by statute, we need to hold a public hearing before we can implement those changes. They include the demo permit fee, which is just a clarification that the fee is per cubic yard. That was not shown on our previous fee schedule. We are proposing for implementation in January of 2019 a reduction in the licensure of solid waste haulers in the county doing business, transporting and collecting solid waste in the county, going from $500 for the first vehicle down to $250, 180 plus days would be $250, and 20 to 179 days would go to $125. It is essentially a 50% reduction across the board for the licensure of our solid waste haulers. We are proposing that ammonia-filled refrigerators, which are a small portion of what comes into the landfill, in order to get rid of those, they're kind of a specialty item because they're such an old type of appliance, going to $75 each plus the $85 per ton, which is how we handle it as it comes through the facility. Additions to the fee schedule, we would like to, as of July 1st, go from $65 to $70 per ton of waste delivered at the facility for out-of-county haulers. So waste that is brought in from out of the county that we accept at the facility would pay $70 a ton. We are not proposing any changes on the tonnage basis for in-county waste that's generated in our county. And then finally, we accept, since we have also acquired a pickup broom a few years ago, we're delivering the sweepings that we pick up throughout the small towns in our county. We did not have a charge or a specific item for that when it's delivered to the facility. We would propose that we would charge $10 per ton for that material that the department delivers to the solid waste facility for disposal from our street sweeping.
Very good, thank you. And then Brad from Public Health, you also on this same public hearing have got an addition to the fee schedule for Public Health?
That is correct, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Yes, we would like to include in the fee schedule under Public Health a $40 fee for ages and stages, a questionnaire that is completed by public health nurses during some home visits. This is a fee that would be reimbursable through health plans and not paid for by family members or individuals, but rather a health plan fee. And to be able to charge that fee, we would need to have it included in our fee schedule. Okay,
very good. And with that, because this is a public hearing, I will ask for comment from the audience. Or first I would ask if we got any letters or any information via email or anything for any of the topics, either from the landfill or Brad from your department regarding these events.
No, I did not.
As of this morning, we had not received any comment at the department.
We didn't get anything in administration either.
So then I will call 3 times for comment, and this will be the first time. This will be the second time for comment, and the third and final time for comment on the fee schedule.
I I had a couple haulers call me, and their only concern was they thought that the Ottawa County tipping fee should be more, and that they also thought that we weren't lowering the license fee enough. So,
Okay.
just wanted that on the record.
Okay. Last time, further comment? We will then close the public, right? We'll then close the public hearing. And I would look for a motion.
I'll make a motion for more discussion.
Second.
Motion and a second. And now, discussion.
If I may, Mr. Chair, again, this is something that we're not looking at today. We as board members took a look at this and, made myself, personal at looking at these dollar figures and saying, I think they're adequate. I don't think they're too low, too high. Again, my opinion is I think we, as a board, made a great decision in keeping the fees as we presented.
And Mr. Chair, just the Ottawa County solid waste was lowered because of the economy in 2008, and which makes sense because we also need a revenue generation out there for remediation of the old facility, and I see now we're going to be raising it to be more appealing to the local haulers, of course, but the public health charge, it makes sense also for the extra work that we got to do for that questionnaire.
Absolutely. Further discussion?
I just agree with what Randy and Mike both have to say. We talked about this a long time out there, and it's the right time to do this.
Further discussion, gentlemen? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Excuse me.
Oh, roll call.
Roll call. We missed. This is a roll call vote. Commissioner Blaine?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Lemire?
Aye.
Wincher?
Aye.
And myself is an aye. That motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next item of business is another public hearing. This time it's going to be in regards to tax increment financing the district. And Carol, if you want to come up front, please. You can go right there if you wish.
Well, the reason we're here today, and I was here about a month ago and told you we have a gentleman from near Swanville that wants to construct pretty close to a 20,000 square foot facility. The reason we're here at County Board instead of City Council is the fact that he is in the township, and townships can't do tax increment financing. So that has to run through our Rural Development Finance Authority and through the County Board. We have a quorum here with Andrea Lauer, Mark Gerby, Greg Zilka, Greg Blaine, you're on the RDFA now too, and so is Commissioner Wilson. And so this is a joint public hearing with the RDFA and the County Board. And then when the comments are done, then we'll have a vote first with the RDFA and then the County Board for approval. We have Mr. Machi is here today, and he would like to tell you a little bit about the project. And then Jason Murray from David Drown and Associates will talk about the more technical things of the TIF district.
Sure.
Welcome.
Morning, Joe.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Joe Machi. I'm representing SRM Holdings. It's a company that basically is going to be like to build this building, and we'd like the county to have some assistance and help on the taxation of it. The building will be built, and it's gonna. There's 3 other businesses that me and my brother own. It'd be Swanville Ready Mix, Machi Construction, and Hard Rock Screening. It's all basically a construction company, 3 different entities there, and they would be renting that space from the SRM Holdings. And we're looking to kind of expand a shop. Of course, our shops are expensive and everything, so we're looking for a little bit of help on a little bit of a break on the taxation part of it to get us get the wheels turning on everything. I got a couple drawings here of basically the layout of the building. If I can drop that off up here.
Here, why don't I take that, that way you can keep talking on this.
I feel the building would be a good asset to the community. It'd be a nice looking building, nice, neat, clean, and it'd be able to house a few more employees. For sure 3 right now and possibly another 1 or 2 in the future.
Thank you.
And right now we're kind of, we got a little single bay shop right now, so basically we're only 1 truck at a time, and our guys' lunch break area, we're kind of piling up on top of each other, so we want to make it a better environment for our employees and make it more efficient for our employees to do their daily jobs.
Mr. Chair, how many employees do you have?
Right now we're at about 9 or 10. Okay. Yep, with mostly full-time and 1 part-time guy. And we'll be adding three more employees for sure, and then possibly 1 or 2 in the future. So, but right now we're kind of out of room, and then we also got a budget that we're kind of keep on track.
Sure.
And this is 100% a shop.
It's going to be an office, a little bit of office.
Yep.
It'll be a break room for the guys, restrooms and stuff, and then some parts storage, a little bit of a welding room in a corner, and then the main part of the building would be a shop. It'd be a 60 by 150 area for a shop. Basically, it'd be a 2-bay shop, but be too deep. And then we'd have a tempered storage because we do some hauling in the winter and stuff. So we'd have be able to put a couple trucks in there. We supply a lot of sand for our dairy farmers and stuff that they use for bedding, so we got to have our trucks running a couple days a week. So we got to have something where, in the bad weathers, where we can put them inside and be able to deliver that product and everything.
And to service the vehicles from the companies that you listed. That's
exactly
the
right.
purpose.
Yep, that's the main purpose is maintenance. Yep, and then the office complex for the secretary and accounting.
Sure.
And the proposal is to hire 2 to 3 people, you said?
Yep.
That's great.
Three people for sure this year, and then possibly in the future another probably 2 more.
Great, that's good to hear. And Carol, how long will this district be approximately?
They usually run 9 years, Jason? Yeah.
9 years. Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, Carol, could you explain what tax increment financing is on the record, please?
Sure. And yeah, you're laughing at me, Jason. That's okay. So, assume this is the lot, and there's nothing on it, okay? And right now, it is generating $1,000 worth of property taxes. Those property taxes, a little goes to the state, but for the most part, it goes to the county, city, school district, or township. Joe comes along, puts his building on there, and I'm just doing this for easy math, then the property taxes become $11,000 a year. That $1,000 stays and goes to where it always went. The other $10,000 we're going to capture for the 8 years, and we're going to have Mr. Machi, will reimburse him twice a year for that portion of the property taxes. And those property taxes, that increment can be used for footings, foundations, anything that is in the ground or directly upon the ground, okay? And so that's what the tax increment district will do to help him with some of his costs.
Good explanation, thank you.
Thank you.
You can open it. There you go. Mm-hmm. And with that being said,
Then we should have Jason come up, yeah.
okay, to explain further.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Nice job, Carol. That was a good explanation of how TIF works.
Good morning, Jason.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, members of the board. Jason Murray, David Drone Associates. Our firm was retained to draft the tax increment financing district. What we're asking you and the RDFA here today to do is to approve TIF District 4-4. It's a economic development district. As Carol indicated, it'll run for 9 years. It is a 1-parcel TIF district to support SRM Holdings project, and it qualifies as a production maintenance warehouse facility under the statute. We've actually, as part of this TIF plan, knowing and hoping that SRM will grow, we've actually built a little capacity into the budget to hopefully, if the county wants to consider, or the RDFA in the future wants to consider future support if a secondary project comes about, we've actually built this TIF plan a little bit bigger. So in the TIF plan, you'll see some bigger numbers than what you've been anticipating in this, and a little bit larger than probably a 19,000 square foot building will handle. But we built some capacity in the TIF plan. I always like to point that out to commissioners, that we try to build additional capacity so you don't have to come back through this process if all goes well for the company and they end up expanding quicker or doing a secondary project. So with that, we've got a couple actions today, Mr. Chair and the commissioners. After the close of the public hearing, we're going to ask the RDFA to approve the resolution establishing the TIF district, and then also a county board resolution establishing the TIF district. So with that, Mr. Chair, commissioners, I'll pause if there's any additional comments on the TIF.
I think you're good, and I think we can now open up the public hearing for comment. If anybody wants to make comment, I would invite you to the podium, and I will ask again 3 times, and this will be number 1. Asking for public comment number 2, and the 3rd and final time for public comment. We'll now close the public hearing, and we will proceed. This is a little bit different, as you just got done explaining quickly. So, Carol, do I ask you to take over for the RFDA portion of this?
I think all we need is a motion from the RDFA, and that's all we need to have now in the RDFA portion. Okay? So would somebody from the RDFA that's here like to make a motion in a second?
I'll make a motion to approve. I'll second. Okay, there is a motion, there is a second, and gentlemen, is there discussion on your behalf?
I would just say that we do a lot of things like this together between a lot of different entities. I'm pretty proud of the way all of us work together on so many projects, and you'll hear from a lot of people it's not that way in many counties and cities. And once again, we're doing something to help the tax base eventually in the county, which is good for all of us. So I think once again, it's a great project, and it allows some people a little more leeway with their dollars to do something. So I think it's a great plan.
And I would agree. Then it's the RDFA's vote here. So do I call for the vote?
Sure.
Okay. And then I would call for a vote.
All those.
Aye.
Aye. Aye. And anyone against? That motion passes. Thank you. And then on behalf of the board, it's now our turn. Okay, thank you. I would look for a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead. Got a motion and a second. Further discussion.
How do people qualify for the public? How do people qualify for TIF? Does there have to be jobs that come with that? Or what?
It has to qualify under the statutory authority, and in this case, it's qualifying under the industrial, it's warehouse production maintenance facility. There's certain other aspects of the TIF law that allow tourism facilities, research and development. It does allow some retail development, but there are some additional qualifications that you must follow. You've got to be smaller than 10,000 population and greater than. 5,000 population greater than 10 miles from a regional center base to qualify for economic development, green space development. So there are some specific statutes that address it, but mainly in economic development TIF, what you're looking for is tax-based jobs and wages.
Thank you.
Further discussion.
Just wish you the best of luck.
Thank you. And we're hoping to keep, there's a few good employees and, good skilled employees and stuff in the community. Instead of outsourcing our stuff down to St. Cloud, or we're in Stearns County or Todd County and stuff, we'd like to keep that in-house and support the local areas. What
we like that too. So thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I've known Joe for a number of years and his family. They're tremendous business people. TIF is a tool, is an economic development tool. I'm happy that he's accessing that tool. I'm happy that this board and the RDFA board is helping him with that tool because I have great faith that not only will this project go forward, but their business will go forward and grow too. And I look forward to watching that happen too. So,
thank you. Further comment? Further comment, gentlemen? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Whoops, and excuse me. It's a roll call vote. Again. Commissioners, Wincher.
Aye.
Lemire.
Aye.
Wilson.
Aye.
Blaine.
aye.
And myself is an aye. That motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioners.
Thank you.
Next item of business is going to be social services.
That was my question, because there are requirements to that.
Yep.
And most of the time it's.
Thank you. Joe. Brad, I see you have a whole team with you this morning.
I do, but I have a guest first.
Okay? We like guests.
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners.
Good morning.
So today I have with me to share some information on transportation, Lori Schultz from TRICAP. TRICAP is our public transit and volunteer driver coordinator for Morrison County. And so I asked her to put together a little information, given the relationship we have with them and the services they provide to Morrison County. So thank you, Lori, for coming.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. How are you today?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good. Well, thank you for having me back today. I just will give some highlights of the last year in public transportation for Morrison County. We continue to have 4 fully accessible buses that we use primarily in the city of Little Falls. Little Falls is a high usage area for us for our public transit. Our buses stay busy all day long. We are still providing the dial-a-ride curb-to-curb service in the city of Little Falls. We did go to a 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday this last year, which has been excellent in terms of participation. And we added a Saturday route from 8 to 4. So we are going to continue to do that into the next year, and we're going to be expanding to 8 to 5 on Saturdays beginning July 1st. This last year, we increased the rides in Morrison County by almost 4,000 rides for our public bus. So we know people are using the buses and getting where they need to be. We do plan to look at in the future, probably more in 2019, trying a fixed route in Little Falls. And what a fixed route would be is it's different than curb to curb. It would be more like we'll have a pickup point at a certain location in Little Falls, and the bus will follow a route. Because of the amount of ridership that we have, we want to try that here to see if that would be successful. We do also plan to move forward beginning in July of 2019. We will begin construction of a new transit facility where our current facility is just out of the city limits. We'll be building a new 6-stall facility that will also have office and conference space in it. So we're very excited to work with MnDOT on that federally funded project. For our volunteer driver program, that continues to be another strong program for Morrison County. Last year we provided over 5,000 rides through our volunteer driver program, and that is where people, our volunteers I should say, use their personal vehicles and transport people mostly to and from medical or different types of social service appointments. Sometimes those appointments are right in Little Falls, but sometimes we're transporting to St. Cloud, the Twin Cities. We even go as far as North Dakota, Rochester, wherever their medical appointments are necessary. We continue to look for volunteers along with other nonprofits and organizations because that really is the key to a successful program. And so we are doing ongoing recruitment for attracting and retaining those volunteers. So again, it's just been a strong year with public transportation. We're very happy to be here in Morrison County providing that. I think our biggest challenge that we have in Morrison County is the length and the size of the city of Little Falls. Our buses are running back and forth, between the city limits, and sometimes it seems like we have 2 or 3 people on the bus, and that's just because where they've called is where we're going to pick them up, and they need to get across town. And so that's a challenge because we want to have our buses full. MnDOT requires that we have 8 to 10 passengers per hour on our bus, and we can't operate like a cab service, so we really have to coordinate those rides. So when people are calling in, we may say, okay, you want to be at Coburn's at 8:30, would 9 o'clock work, because we may have a cluster of pickups in that same area. And so that's a challenge for us, and again, that's one of the reasons we're going to try, I think, a fixed route in this next year. But I would entertain any questions you might have.
Gentlemen.
Just one addition I might add to Lori's comments, and Social Services does support some of the public transit through contracts. We provide them $10,000 a year to support public transit, but also I think even more important is that we subsidize some long-term or developmentally disabled and elderly rides. So if people want to buy bus tokens from us, they get them at a reduced rate. And also rural transit, if they want to do a rural route, we will subsidize a token for a rural drive as well. So we know that transportation is an important, it's important for everybody in terms of a rural community. We don't all have vehicles, and so the relationship with TRICAP, both on the public transit and the volunteer driver side, is critical to making sure we get people around.
Mr. Chair, if I may, and again, this came to me back in actually, Commissioner Wilson informed me about this, and so I talked to Live Well at Home grants. Are you familiar with that?
I am familiar with those grants.
And so you're talking about volunteers. It seems like that's becoming a big issue because these Live Home and Home grants, I believe they're going to be going door to door trying to find volunteers for these. And I'm assuming that's the problem that we would have here. This is kind of a competition. I don't know.
It can be because, as I said, many different nonprofits and organizations are all in need of volunteers for different reasons, and people are busy in today's world, and so to find and get those volunteers can be hard. That's where I think organizations need to work together more and partner to perhaps collaborate on different services. So perhaps we can utilize the same drivers or volunteers just in different capacities. The other challenge that we have here in Morrison County is that we have the volunteer driver program for 4 counties, and we work very closely with the RSVP program out of St. Cloud. Because Morrison County does not have an RSVP program any longer, we did lose some volunteer drivers in that sense. And so that's been a challenge for us as well.
So you will not be able to access any of this money for this, the Live Well at Home grants that's available for your staff, or to go door to door?
Yeah, we definitely could apply for those funds. We have chosen not to in the past just because there are other very worthy organizations that are providing essential services, especially to seniors, in which they are in need of that funding as well. But we most definitely could look into applying for that funding.
Thank you.
Lori, I have a couple comments, questions. Volunteer drivers, and I'm very clear on the word volunteer. But if I am a volunteer driver, am I a 100% volunteer, period? Is my vehicle also a volunteer? Is the gas station also a volunteer?
So for our volunteer driver program, you are a volunteer in which you are not an employee of TRICAP. You use your own personal vehicle. As part of the requirements, you must have that vehicle inspected, and TRICAP keeps record to ensure that it's a safe vehicle. TRICAP is also going to review your driving record to the DMV 2 times a year. You're also going to have a background study done to assure that you are safe for transporting clients. And then TRICAP is going to reimburse you at the IRS recommended rate for every mile that you drive for transporting the clients to and from their appointments. We're also going to provide for you a $4 a day startup fee for any day that you drive. And then if you have to drive over mealtime and you're gone, we will reimburse you for that as well. You'll have to have your own personal automobile insurance, so you'll have to work with your insurance company to ensure that they know and understand that you are driving people and getting mileage reimbursement for it. And then also you'll have to pass a medical that just states that you are physically fit to drive.
Sure. Then my other question is rural routes. I'm very clear on the city of Little Falls. I'm not clear on the city of Randall, Royalton, Pierce, Swanville, Uppsala, Motley, Buckman, doesn't make any difference, or the outliers of any of those communities. You know, in Morrison County, there's roughly 30,000 people, just as a number. Are all 30,000 people in Morrison County eligible for this program? In other words, if I am living 25 miles away from the city of Little Falls, north, south, east, or west, in Morrison County, and I call for a ride, I want to go to the grocery store, is the bus going to come and get me?
It is not.
Okay.
It is not. So what happens every year is public transit providers have to submit an application to the Minnesota Department of Transportation. They are our funder. And in that application, we have to create our service designs. So we state this is where our buses will go, Monday through Friday or on Saturdays. And again, we have to be in areas that are going to be able to produce that ridership per hour. Yep. And so so each year we do that. And so in order to create new routes, what would be called an unmet need, we have to be able to prove to MnDOT that there is a need and that there is ridership. So what we always tell people is if you live out in Swanville, yep, and you're in need of getting transportation, public bus into Little Falls, call our dispatch center. If we may not be able to provide it now, but if we can have data that shows that we are having to deny people rides, that is the information that MnDOT needs for us to then say, we want to add a route, yep, from Swanville into Little Falls or vice versa. So currently what we do is we have those routes in the city of Little Falls. We also have a route that goes into Pierce, and that is an underperforming route. We just don't have the ridership there. We maybe get one call per week for rides that go from Little Falls into Pierce and then back. And then on the fourth Monday of the month, we have a route that goes from Little Falls into St. Cloud. That is a good producing route. We have typically about 8 to 10 people every month that take that ride. So we'll start out in Little Falls, we stop in Pierce, I believe, and then into St. Cloud. We're in St. Cloud for a number of hours. We bring them where they need to go in St. Cloud, and then we do the reverse trip back. We currently don't offer any services in Randall in that area. I don't think we ever have. That's something that we continue to explore, and we also are in conversations with Friendly Rider. Now, Friendly Rider is the public transit in the next county over. They're doing some routes into Staples and Motley, and they're coming into Little Falls, and so we're coordinating with them as well, because if they're coming into Little Falls and there's a Little Falls resident that needs to go to Staples or Motley, they can certainly provide that ride as well.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
I got a question. I sit on the Council of Aging Board, and they seem to have a problem with transportation, getting enough and so forth. So does this work with them or not? Totally different? TRICAP versus what they do?
It is different.
Okay.
Different agencies have different types of programs, and Council on Aging would be an organization that might have that Living at Well grant. And they provide different types of services. For our volunteer driver program, all of the rides that we coordinate and perform are all based on either a county contract or a contract with a health insurance company. So Medica, Health Partners, South Country Health Alliance, they all have clients that are in need of getting to medical appointments, and so we have a contract with them. So they are actually the ones, the entities that send us a ride request and say, Jane Doe needs to be at the Mayo Clinic May 5th and 6th. And so they're actually paying for that ride, and they're the ones that coordinate it. We provide it. That's the same with the counties that we work with Morrison County, for example. All of the residents that we provide volunteer driver services through come from a rides request from either a social worker at the county or it could be a financial worker, whichever funding source it's coming from. With public bus, that is for everyone. That's why we have the motto for $1.25 wide drive. And so that's public transit. That's just like if you went to the city of St. Cloud and you hopped on the Metro bus, or if you were in Minneapolis and you got on the Blue Line. Public buses for anyone. There's no income eligibility guidelines. The only difference is that we're a curb to curb, so you have to call to schedule your ride. So that's how our volunteer driver program works, which is a little bit different from Council on Aging.
Okay, thank
and we
you.
do get this question from time to time, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. You know, if I live in Cushing and I don't have a vehicle and I need to get to the grocery store, why can't I use volunteer drivers? And volunteer driver is not an open program. It is driven by social workers and financial workers and health plans. So whether you're 80 or 40 or 20 and don't have a vehicle, the volunteer driver program really is not accessible unless you have an open social service or financial assistance case.
Okay. Thank you.
Further comment? Very good information, Lori. I very much appreciate it. I know that there are people that are looking for rides from time to time, and what avenues do they choose? And there are different avenues to pick. This is just another avenue, so I very much appreciate you coming and talking to us.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You bet.
Thank you.
July 19th.
I'm going to ask Teresa to come up here for the next social services report. Teresa is our office support supervisor, and I've asked her to put together a report on front office services in terms of what her staff do to support the community, the agency, and our staff. So, welcome, Teresa.
Thank you.
Good morning, Teresa.
Good morning. Once again, I come before you to present kind of a breakout of the work of our 6 full-time office support staff. And I'm going to start out with our electronic document imaging system. We have been working with this for a number of years now, and it's always interesting to me when I pull the statistics. So over the last year, from May 16th of 2017 to May 15th of this year, we, meaning the office support team, scanned in over 900,000 pages. And the first graph just shows you a breakout of where those pages went, whether they went into a child support case, a financial case, or a social service case. And then the next slide will show you a breakout of the average number of pages scanned by staff per day. So as you can see, we continue, as we have been working with the system, we continue to be more efficient with the system. So we are scanning over 3,700 pages per day between the 6 office support staff. And then how are those 3,701 pages handled? Filing pages, which means those are pages that have either come in across the front desk and the original has gone to the staff person for some reason. It may have needed a signature. The staff person may have needed it right away. It comes back to office support, and we scan those in.
Teresa, might I interrupt you for a second?
Sure.
Before I forget?
Absolutely.
And I'm going to forget. Is this new stuff that you're talking about, or is this old stuff that we're scanning it into a computer hard drive somewhere, or is this everyday business stuff that we're talking about here?
The majority of the pages that I call filing pages are the old cases that are stored in our storage area, and we are bringing those up. They're still active, but they're older cases from a current case that's ongoing.
Okay.
So that's where the majority of these numbers are coming from.
Very good.
And the pages being workflowed are the pages that are coming across the front desk for the most part. So 666 pages are running through our workflow system.
Which would be new information coming
Right,
into our
yes.
coming into our agency.
Yep.
The workflow system is what?
The workflow system?
Yeah, I don't know if that's a normal verb, workflow.
It's a
I know what it
normal,
means,
it's a normal word for our agency, but yes.
So what happens is when someone brings in their verifications, say they need to supply their bank statements. So they come into the front desk, and in the past, we used to copy those and then send them on to the worker. Now we take their originals and we run them right through the scanner that's at the front desk. We check to make sure we have all the pages and everything is legible. And then through a series of key steps, we put it into the electronic document management system.
So
and then we hand the originals back to the client.
So workflow is a part of our application extender program. We have a relationship with ISC out of Fargo that has created the workflow system for some counties, and that's how we manage our documents and our case files.
And it gets it to the people that need to. It's how we use and do our board packets now too, where it's, you have all these documents and it goes to who needs to see it, and you don't have to hand paper back and forth at the risk of losing that or misplacing it.
Right.
If I may, Mr. Chair, so you take a piece of paper like this, assuming we have one scanner, two scanners, and then somebody has to feed it into the scanner machine, and you're doing that over almost 4,000 pages a day.
Yes. Staff are busy. Yeah. And they're efficient. They know the system and they know the key sequence to push and yep.
And some of the documents actually have a scan code on top, so they don't have to do as many keystrokes as well. So we've worked with Application Extender on some of those documents that can just automatically read the scanned part of a document and go to where it needs to go. So.
Is there checks and balances on this too? If you happen to press A and it should have been B?
Yes. Yes. So what happens is it gets scanned in at the front desk, and then we have a separate person who is actually taking a look at those documents to verify, once again, that they are all in order, and then they fill in the case number and the worker number and where it goes to. So we do have a check and balance. And you will hear the staff ask each other, what about this document? Is it missing a page? Or I hear that throughout the day. And I welcome you, if you'd like to come take a sneak peek at it, I'd welcome you to come on down and we'll show you.
Or maybe we should all stick to what we're good at.
Right.
So out of the 666 new pages that are coming in, 467 of them come across the front desk every day, and then 199 come in through digital faxes. They're touched by office support in some way, but they're not necessarily a hard copy. So those are the different breakouts.
Wow. The other thing we have in both public health and social services, we no longer have fax machines per se. We actually, all the faxes come electronically into our printer and then they're workflowed. So we don't really have any fax pages coming through like we used to, which is much more efficient as well.
And the next slide is actually my favorite one that I try to pull together every year for you, a little bit of trivia about Morrison County. So in the last year, staff have imaged and shredded over 928,000 sheets of paper, which equates to 310 feet of paper. And that is approximately as wide as the Mississippi River as it flows under the Minnesota State Highway 115 bridge at Camp Ripley. So as you drive across the bridge, then you can think of us.
A lot of paper.
And just an interesting note, as I was researching this, this bridge is the only bridge across the entire Mississippi River where both cars and trains use the same bridge.
Very good.
So, a piece of trivia that hopefully will help you. The next spotlight is the number of people that we serve at our front reception desk. This has kind of this is interesting to me. We actually gather these hard stats as people are walking in. Staff are logging them just by hash marks. As you can see, the last 2 years we've had an increase in the number of clients that are visiting our front desk per day, and our number of phone calls has reduced. And I'm thinking that the MNsure system, the financial assistance healthcare system, has a lot to do with the number of clients that are visiting our front desk, because the county is kind of the repository to take all the documents in, and through our MET system, which is what the financial assistance healthcare program is called. So clients bring them in, and then we scan them and put them in their cases, and they go to wherever. But that would be, unless Brad, you can think of something, but I think that's the big impact why we've seen the switch in the number of calls versus the number of people that are actually showing up at our front desk.
Because clients are coming in for one-on-one assistance, filling forms out or whatever that might be. Is that what you're saying?
Well, they have to bring in so many verifications for the public assistance program.
Yep.
So they have to bring those in or mail those in, but a lot of people choose to bring them in.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
And
As you can see from the stats, sorry, Deb, that not a lot of people are seeing our actual staff. They're just bringing information in.
Yep.
And if you look at the graph, and that's what that graph is telling us, and it could be the verifications or dropping information off, seems the most likely, I think, reason why people are coming in. I don't think people like to mail things as much as they used to, and they want to know that it got to our agency as well. So.
Well, and this is pretty important stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's finances, generally speaking.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Income tax forms.
Yeah.
And they also know they're going to get it back, where if they mail it, the likelihood to get it back may not happen. So it's easier to just drop it in, get it scanned, get your information back, and you can keep it. So.
And when, Mr. Chair, you said this is important documents, again, you've answered this question before, but I'll ask it. What happens if the electricity goes out or the computer crashes? How am I going to access it? Because here, the piece of paper is always going to be there.
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to access it?
You can't read it in the dark, though. I think today that's the reality of the world we live in today is we rely on our technology systems, and if the power goes out, staff have to do other things for the time being, and it does create challenges. There's no doubt about it.
But we have, Mr. Chair, we have robust backup systems and things of that nature for if there's an issue with systems and how they operate. We trust that those are going to be in place, like all other entities trust that with the electronic business.
Because if a system crashes, it's not wiped out. You can find it somewhere else, or it's stored somewhere else.
That's definitely where we rely on our IT specialists. We have backup tapes for all of our systems, and so we may lose a little bit of time depending on when it goes down to when it's backed up, but for the most part, everything is there.
Mm-hmm.
Which is nothing more than a piece of technology that works.
Yep.
And it is proven that it works.
Yes.
Over and over.
And Mr. Chair, as we've talked about numerous times, the ability that this staff has had to combat those increasing caseloads has been huge. By implementing a lot of these types of processes, we've been able to keep up without adding staff. And in fact, we just had discussions about reducing one of those staff when the opportunity arose, just due to the efficiencies we've created. And that's part of implementing different technologies, staying on top of things, learning how to do the system. And so those are opportunities that certainly you have instilled as a board that we need to take advantage of. So I appreciate when those come forward, as I'm sure you do also.
And again, kudos to Teresa and her staff, because as we implement these efficiencies through technology, it does change how people do business, both in terms of the front desk staff, but as well as our social workers, case aides, financial worker. I mean, it changes how they do business as well, and it's under Teresa's leadership and her staff that continue to help educate, support, and manage those changes in the business that we do because of technology. So her staff does a great job, and so really appreciate the work she and her staff do. So.
Thank you.
Teresa, I am curious to hear about this phone call front desk thing.
Yes, and I will definitely be keeping track of this, and we'll be reporting back again next year, and we'll see what the numbers show. We do probably every 3 to 5 months, we do a spot check. We just take a random 4-week period of time and then I average them out.
This kind of surprised you a little bit or not?
It does, very much so.
However, when did we implement our new phone system, which I think
Yes.
also support?
Yes.
So when somebody
That's
calls the front
true.
desk, they can
Yes.
make a decision to go to
Menu.
financial or without hitting zero and talking to a receptionist. And I think we've also done a better job of
Very good.
sharing our staff phone numbers so that they can contact them.
Okay.
So what I would say is that this is probably, maybe equates to our new phone system
Oh,
and
I
how we
bet.
have
Yes.
managed that system.
I
So
think that is true, because it
Yes.
was in
Very
17
good.
when we did
Yeah.
that.
Yep.
I mean, it cut it in half, pretty much. Outstanding. Good report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Teresa? All right, I'm going to ask Penny and Melanie to join us up here. So as you might recall at planning meeting last week, we talked about some proposed office changes at social services. We have had a case aide who has resigned and is actually still supporting the work of Morrison County. Part of her role was childcare licensing, and so there is some of her position that is going to go away. So we have had discussions about should we replace, should we not replace, what should that replacement look like? And so in conversations with Teresa, Penny, and Melanie, we made a decision that we would like to change an office support position to a case aide position. So we reduce one of the 6 FTEs in office support, make that 5, and replace the case aide position by promoting a office support into that case aide position. And we would like to do it that way because of the fact that we do not need 6 office support, and they've been the unit that's created the efficiencies, as you've heard Teresa talk, just the efficiencies they've created in terms of the front office, our phone system, the EDMS, has really helped in terms of what Teresa's been able to do. And we've talked about, do we need to continue to have 6 office support individuals? And so would really like to take one of those positions and promote them to a case aide in the children's unit or to support the social workers. Case aide provides a little more flexibility in the work they can do given the knowledge, skills, ability, and grade that they have, so they can do some client contact, they can do some more monitoring of social workers, and those types of tasks that we feel are better equipped to manage and support the work of the social workers. So the first request is to promote an office support staff to a case aide and replacing that position. So maybe we'll just stop right there and have some more conversation about those 2 particular positions.
Discussion, gentlemen?
Well, I think in our planning session, we had talked about by doing this, you'll be able to bring in more money from codings and stuff like that in billing.
That really comes more so with our social work position that we're proposing.
Okay.
Because we're eliminating an office support, we want to continue with the same number of staff. So that really comes with that next conversation
Okay.
on adding a
Sounds good. Thank
mental
you.
health worker in children and adult services.
Mr. Chair, and I asked this question last week, but I'll have you answer it again. What's going to make sure that we're going to have enough office support at the front desk by eliminating it?
And Teresa and I have talked about this quite a bit over the last couple months as we've talked about the staffing patterns at the front desk. And because of the efficiencies they've created through EDMS, has really, I think, put us in a good position for this. But also because we're changing some of the duties, we are going to move some of the front office jobs to the case aide job duties as well. So not only because of these efficiencies that they've created, but we're going to take a few other things off the front desk. And I think, as I said at planning, I never say never, but I think I trust Teresa's judgment and I trust the office staff and what they're able to do. And I think we're in a good position to move to 5 at this point. I think also, as we talked about at planning, it's a unique time because of the remodel and the disruptions that are going to occur because of the remodel. So we've talked about that significantly as well, that will disrupt office support as well as the rest of the staff as we have to move and manage and some of those things. But I think we're still feeling comfortable that this is a good time to do this, given the resignation of a case aide position provides that opportunity.
First, I would like to say good morning, Melanie. And just
Penny
lost her name,
is
Penny.
here.
And good morning, Penny. Thank you. But we've had robust discussions on this. We truly have. And the slide presentation that we just watched shows us what technology has done in Morrison County. I apologize, Penny. Sorry about that. But where we can, where technology has come along, where we have taken that chance, and I better be careful, boards before me, before us, have taken that chance and said, let's go for it. That technology has truly come to life to where we can make that body change, if you will, to move them out of this position and into another. And I just have to hand it to the entire staff, and I won't pick on anybody because I'll forget their names anyway, on how you've done that. It's just a remarkable thing, I think.
And I wouldn't be, I'd be remiss if I didn't say that office support staff are just as important to our agency as case aides, social workers.
Absolutely.
However, each position provides a unique experience and opportunity when we have them employed by our agency. And so really wanting to kind of adjust that position to be more flexible and able to do what we need to do. So, but it doesn't say that office support is any less important to our organization than any other position. And I would be remiss if I didn't say that to Teresa. And when I talked to the office support staff last week, it was the same message, that they're just as important, and we need them because they are the face of our agency whenever any of those, 65, however many people come through our door every week. So
absolutely.
So that is the first request that I am going to ask as part of all one RBA. I would move on to the next position if there's no other questions about those two positions.
Go ahead.
So Penny and Melanie are here as well to help with this conversation or answer any questions that they might as well. But also given this opportunity that with the resignation of a case aide, and as we talked about the position replacement, we also have been chatting about the caseloads in adult and children's mental health. And as we've seen in reports over the last 2 months about the increasing caseloads in both children's and adult mental health, it has created challenges for the staff. Under statutory guidelines, 15 children's mental health cases per staff, for 30 per adult case manager. Our standards are 20 for kids and 40 for adults. We feel that's a better performance standard than statutory guidelines. We are over both of those. If we talk about statutory guidelines, we're way over. Even if we talk about our extended performance requirements, we're over. And so we are wanting to add an adult and children's mental health case manager. What we're also proposing to do in conversations with Penny and Melanie is to pilot a new way to do case management and access 2 revenue sources versus 1 revenue source per family or per client that we serve. And so currently all staff have caseloads that include waiver and targeted case management. We are only accessing the waiver for those clients because of the work requirements and the documentation requirements that we have. We need to make sure for both of those programs that we have certain documentation in place, as well as certain activities that are billable for both of those activities. And so what we would do is take a position and pilot doing the new process of being able to build both of those programs, which we're hoping to see a revenue increase of about $170,000. We still have to pay for that position, which is about $80,000. What we're hoping to see is a significant increase in revenue for that position by being able to build both the waiver and targeted case management for those families and clients we serve. And so really it's twofold. It is to reduce the caseloads, because we're over on both children and adults, as well as piloting a new way of doing business with these clients. And of course, by lowering caseloads, we'll have better client satisfaction, increased revenue. I think I also talked about at planning for a while about just the fact that if you're working with these caseloads, they're high to begin with, and then you have unexpected activities that occur, such as a client comes through the door that needs commitment. Staff have to drop everything with the clients they're working with and attend to that, because that's, you have a certain period of time to do that. If you're working in children's mental health and you have a child who's placed, you have to drop everything and do all those activities associated with out-of-home placements. So it really, again, the higher the caseload, some of these unintended activities come up, they have to drop everything. It just continues to then increase the caseload as well. So I would open it up to Penny, Melanie, if you have any other comments or things you'd like to say.
You know, I think I'd maybe just paint the picture for you on what this means for someone walking through the door and receiving adult mental health case management. Right now, they would come in, or children's mental health, come in, they'd get the case manager who would be doing that and assessing, do they need some additional waiver support services on top of the mental health services that they're coordinating? And that answer may be yes. So then they're going to get two. In most counties, what would happen is that person would then get referred over to a waiver case manager, and they now have a waiver case manager to manage and coordinate those waivered services, and they'd have a mental health case manager to manage and coordinate those mental health services. Dakota County has piloted and said and heard very loud and clear from people that that's too confusing. Who do I call for what, and how do I get the best service? Dakota County piloted over the last couple of years saying, you know what, we think that we can have a dual case manager who can wear both hats and be one contact for that person and provide the best service, which also is good for them as the staff because they are able to attend to the whole needs of that person and have the whole picture of that person. Morrison County currently, instead of, we knew that that's not a great option to give the person two people and who do I call, so we maintain that person under the mental health case manager and expect those case managers to still have that high level of contact because these are individuals who need that level of support. They need that monthly contact. Waiver case management does not require that. We still require our staff to do that because that's best practice for the services we're providing. So really underneath this model of case management, we get the best of all worlds. Case managers get to have more time to do their work to the level that they want to, be more proactive instead of reactive, and do all of it instead of the case going to multiple people. Client feeling that benefit as well, having that one person. And ultimately, the revenue is there, but we see the other benefits being just as important, if not more important, in using this model of case management.
Maybe just a couple of other comments. One of the things that came up last at planning was, well, why didn't we do this sooner? Well, two reasons. I think one is, you know, as we've been talking about the office support position, laying off did not seem like a good option at the time, knowing what was coming down the going to happen. But when it comes to the case manager in particular, caseloads ebb and flow. And so we don't want to just rush to increase a case manager because a caseload went up. But we've seen a steady increase over the last couple of years, and we have increased a case manager before, but it's continuing to increase, and we just don't see caseloads going down and in the near future. And I think one other comment that I make, as we've talked about this case management position as well, we've had conversations with Northern Pines about their ability to support some of the work around mental health, and in particular doing some case management. And they have found it very difficult to hire staff of this level to do case management in their organization at the paraprofessional level. But they're also very busy in trying to manage the new process, or their new structure around certified community behavioral health clinics. And so their ability to attend to this has been challenging for them in that new structure and trying to build that model of services within their organization. So that's really the other reason we thought, well, maybe we can look to Northern Pines to provide some of those supports as well. But that's been difficult, and I don't want to speak for Laura Vaughn, the director of Northern Pines, but they have a lot of positions open as well. And so they're good at mental health services, and even at that, they're struggling filling the mental health professional position. So we've had those conversations as well, if there's a provider out there that can help support the work that we do with these adults and children as well. So,
Brad, based upon everything that we've heard today, everything that we've heard yesterday and the day before, if you will, this just seems to me to be the right thing to do. Not only is this going to bring finances into the county, it's the right thing to do to make the whole system continue to work the way it's working. And it is stuff that has led up to this that it gets to be the right thing to do. Not by me, by other people, and it is. It truly is. Because of the work that has been done, today we find ourselves, in my opinion, in a situation where this is simply the right thing to do, in my opinion.
One other comment that I might make, as I heard at planning, as I also heard from the board at the planning meeting, or we heard, is that they would like to really see the results of this. So we're making a commitment to bring back to the board by June 1st of next year information on how this pilot project is working. We may see a little bit of that with our 2019 budget planning. And hope to, but I still think we may need more time given other factors within the organization. But for sure, we will plan to bring back information on this pilot project by June 1st of next year.
Gentlemen, I would look for a motion.
Also move, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Further discussion?
I just want to say thank you for looking into this and bringing this idea forward. It's a great idea, not only as a revenue source, but as providing better services to our clients, and I thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Further discussion?
And Mr. Chair, just want to clarify, we're not adding additional body, we're just replacing that person. And again, when we bring up these waivers, revenue, the TCM revenues, we can't project that. That's a projection, but you're not going to be guaranteed that. But hopefully next year at this time, you'll be able to bring that back.
Yep, and that's a good point, Commissioner Winter, is that we have 80 individuals working today in social services. Through this process, we will still have 80 working there tomorrow because of how we're restructuring the positions that we currently have.
Absolutely. Further discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. Ladies, Brad, thank you very, very kindly.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
And Brad, I guess you get to stay right where you are because next is going to be our public health report.
Ask Fran to come up here. So front office is, again, a very critical function on the public health side. So I've asked Fran to put together a report for the board on some of the job tasks and duties of the front desk staff at public health. So
excellent. Good morning, Fran.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, our staffing consists at the front desk and public health of 3 full-time employees. Their focus is to provide customer service to the various public health clients and Morrison County residents who visit the public health department. At the front desk, they provide many direct services to public health clients in our WIC and environmental health programs. We also see case management and maternal child health clients who come in or call, and they connect those clients with a case manager or an MCH maternal child health nurse for questions or services that are needed. Also, during the facility remodel, we've had many people coming in to ask directions, which I'm sure everyone on the other side has had the same thing, a little different. And now that the Veteran Service Office has joined us in the Public Health Department, we're seeing a little bit of reception work there, but not very much.
And that's been a great addition to the public health side, is having Veteran Services there. I mean, I see Kathy sitting over there now, but they're having a lot of fun with public health staff, and they're getting to know each other. And I think it's been a good fit for getting to know us as we move closer together in the new complex. So they wander around public health and meet and greet and chat. So it's been good to see. So.
Yes. Okay, phone calls that come into the public health front desk, they come here for the variety of programs that public health offers services of, and also many residents call to find out where to get information and that they're looking for, and we direct them. Could be to another county department, it could be another community resource, it might be someone within our department. So we get a real variety of calls coming in. And you can see by the graph that the largest amount of calls that we get are for the WIC program. They call to schedule appointments, to change appointments. they call, to talk to an MCH nurse or, to get services from there. We also have a lot of calls for the really a lot of miscellaneous calls, and that's about the same as the maternal child health calls and such. So but WIC is really the largest number of calls coming through our department. We get some for social services, but that's a very small amount. And case management, we get several calls for that as well. As far as people coming into our desk, walking in, we have clients and residents that visit to receive services from our department, and some are coming to get directions or to find other community resources that we have access to that we can give them information for. Again, the majority of visits to our department are for the WIC program, the Women, Infants, and Children program. Some come in with appointments, but many come in for either monthly or tri-monthly voucher pickup. And whenever they come in, they also receive nutrition education from one of the WIC certifiers, provided there's one available. But most time there is one there. And then the second largest program that's serviced at the front desk is the environmental health licensing programs, for which we have several. The food, beverage, and lodging, special events for food and camping, tobacco, alcohol, and vending machine licensing. You can see from the graph on this that the largest majority here, okay, I think I have the wrong, is WIC. Yeah, the WIC is the largest here again. Environmental health is second to that, the second largest. And then we would have the, my green is miscellaneous, I have. So a small amount, very small amount for veterans, and then for giving directions. And that mostly, again, comes with the facilities remodel that we're going through. As far as the budgeted hours, the work that the staff at the front desk do, they are mostly program-oriented. Jessica is the first person that clients normally greet whenever they come through. However, most of her work is done in the Child and Teen Checkup program. And then she's also backup in the WIC program. She works with the Nurse Family Partnership Program. Those are her three main areas. She does the administrative part, which is not only greeting people and answering the phone, the first person to answer the phone. She goes to pick up the mail. She takes the mail. She opens and distributes the mail, and helping with anyone else that comes in. And she also has a very small amount in emergency preparedness. If you receive the Health Alert Network emails that come out every once in a while, she's the person sending those out. The second person at the front desk is Jerry. She actually has no hours budgeted for administrative, which would be the receptionist work. The biggest part of her work is WIC. And then it would be the follow-along program, which I believe you're familiar with as well. She has a small amount of time dedicated to the car seat education.
Because of how public health is funded, it's a lot of grant funding, and so we try and put as much time into those grants as we can, which includes the front office staff, to help pay for the duties that they do. So even though we say Jerry doesn't do any front office reception work, she really does back up Jessica and take phone calls and things like that. But we want to put as much of their time to grants as we can to make sure we're getting as much funding as we can.
Correct. And the third person we have at the front desk is Mary, and the largest amount of her work is in the environmental health services, providing backup for the licensing programs. A lot of that licensing program she actually administers for the most part herself, especially like the vending machine licenses, she handles that. Alcohol licensing, she does a lot on that. Special events, and the food, beverage, and lodging.
So the next thing on the public health agenda is what Mary puts together most of the time.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, that is true. she does that work. So the amount of time spent with clients in our various programs, when a client comes in for WIC, a lot of times that person helping her could spend 5 to 10 minutes. Because she has to sometimes look up financial information or ask for financial information or any other missing information. Sometimes there's notes in the charts saying that the certifier needs to do a weight check or something, or that there's follow-up needed. So, and then for environmental health, a lot of times when someone comes to the front desk, Mary will spend 10 to 15 minutes with them as well. If they're coming in with a license application, she looks it over. If they have questions, if they are looking at buying an establishment or they are in the process of buying, she goes over the application forms with them and answers any questions that they have and let them know what other information they need to bring in. So for the car seat education program right now, Jerry is the lead person in that program until the new person has a year of experience. And for that, Jerry also needs to go for training. She has annual CEUs that she needs for that program. Jerry also works in the follow-along program. She's the coordinator. She attends regional meetings. She sends reports to the state, and she performs daily work without supervision. She also maintains and administers the ASQ Enterprise Hub, and there she's collecting and entering data from various agencies like TCC, Mid-State Education Co-op, and then the area schools.
I might just say something about this as well as the next thing on Fran's list, and that is two things that we have done collaboratively is to the follow-along program. We now have amongst our collaborative, all agencies are required to do an ages and stages questionnaire called the ASQ. So we are working with Brooks Publishing out of, I think, Boston.
What's ASQ stand?
Ages and Stages Questionnaire. So we are working now with all of our school districts, our Mid-State Education Co-op, Mental Health Center, physicians, trying to put all of those into one hub. So if, for instance, if a social worker is required to do it on a child protection case, they can go in and see if it's been done and would not have to redo it, similar to a school district. And so it's been a collaborative project between the 5 schools, our special ed district, corrections. We aren't as robust as we had hoped at this point. It's been about a year and a half in. And so, but it's real exciting, and the Minnesota Department of Health is really excited to see how this goes with Brooks Publishing, and they may even look at rolling this out statewide. But it's been exciting. And then along with that, the next bullet around the Child and Teen Checkup Program and Nurse Family Partnership. As a CHB, we've been trying to do things collaboratively. And so we actually have 3 leads within the CHB from Morrison County. That is Jen with our WIC program. She is the lead for the CHB, so she mentors and supports Wadena and Todd County as well. We have Karen Ottman, who runs the Child and Teen Checkup. She is the lead for the CHB. And then we have Jill Scott, who is the Nurse Family Partnership lead for the 3 counties and provides supervision of the other nurses. So as we continue to try to do things collaboratively, public health and the front desk staff have been supporting those efforts as well. So what Jerry does with the follow-along program and then what the other staff do with the CHB has been very important. So I would call those 2 things out for public health. So
yeah, because Jessica, in that CTC program, she has to attend regional meetings. And then again, like you said, the NFP program, she's working with the other counties as well. So that's all I had. If you have questions.
Any questions for Fran?
Outstanding report, Fran.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Fran.
Thank you.
Questions?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you,
Thank
Fran.
you very, very kindly.
Thank you.
Thanks, Fran. And then I have one other item on the agenda, and that is alcohol licenses. And so I'd ask for a motion to approve the list of liquor license renewals and the 1-day temporary on-sale liquor license for the Pierce Commercial Club. And Sheriff and County Attorney have approved these, as well as the application for the Pierce Commercial Club.
Look for a motion.
So move.
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? That motion passes. Thank you, Brad.
Thanks. That's all I have today, unless there's something.
Excellent.
Thanks. Have a good day.
Gentlemen, I'm going to suggest we take a 5-minute pause. And we can reconvene, and next on our agenda is Land Services. Good morning, Amy.
Good morning, Amy.
Okay, so I have a few things for you today. The first one is to consider, let's see, class. Yeah. Okay, so to consider the approval for a conditional use permit for Donald and Derek Kloss. And this is to expand to a Tier 2 feedlot with the construction of a second poultry barn. This was recommended for approval by the Planning Commission with 7 conditions. And those conditions were abide by local and state law, notify road authority when hauling manure during road restrictions, abide by the good neighbor, stormwater, and feedlot odor minimization plans, plant and maintain a 50-foot wide grass buffer around the perimeter of the barns after construction for ongoing stormwater management. On-site stockpiling of manure shall occur upon the stacking slab, and the feedlot owner shall notify receiving field owners of the unsuitability of soils for stockpiling. The feedlot owner shall notify the feedlot officer of manure cleanout, and the property owner shall maintain the existing forested buffer as recommended within the environmental review.
I'll make a motion with the conditions.
I'll second it.
Discussion. I'll comment on the Kloss family. It was probably the quickest event or item that I've witnessed the Planning Commission deal with, and that was because, in my opinion, the Klosses came prepared, and they came prepared to every meeting, I'm confident of that, and had their ducks in order and are good operators. And I've never been to their property, but based upon everything that took place at the Planning Commission, they just had their stuff all together, and it showed they're good operators. That's just a comment.
Amy, just another question. They did go ahead of the variance board before too, right?
That's correct. They did receive a variance to encroach on the setback from a non-feedlot residence.
Yep. Further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item is to consider the rezone request for a portion of a property from residential to agriculture. This is for the purpose of agricultural uses. This also was recommended for approval by the Planning Commission. As a reminder, no conditions can be placed on a rezone, and a supermajority is needed to approve a rezone.
Also move, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Discussion.
This gentleman has been using it as egg for, well, according to some people, it's been an egg for as long as they can remember, and this gentleman's been using it for egg. And
previous owner as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And they thought it was egg.
Absolutely.
So.
Further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes.
Thank you. And then I am going to also present to you the abstract of abatement from our county assessor. We have 3 abatements. The first 2 are very similar. They both had filed for, or had filed their activity farming application for extended homestead, which didn't make it on to the paperwork, and so we are looking to abate those to bring their taxes back down to the homesteaded level. And then the third one is a 2017 property tax change at the state level, where these properties listed in the table were reclassified for a different tax rate, and that was missed in updating our tax tables. And so we would like to abate those and bring that tax rate down for those property owners.
Look for a motion.
So move, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Discussion?
Would that be just on the first 2, or are we going to do all 3?
I'm asking for all 3, but you certainly can do one by one if you'd like.
That's what I assume the motion would be for.
Yes, sir.
Further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion passes.
Okay. Thank you. Then the last thing, I just have a reminder, June 12th is our County Board of Equalization, Appeal and Equalization. That's at 5 o'clock. I believe we have one appointment so far for that. So just a reminder that we'll be here at that on June 12th. All right, that's all I have.
At 5, you said, right?
5 o'clock,
Yep.
yes.
Very good. Thank you, Miss Amy.
Thank you.
I don't have that now.
Our next item is Veterans Office, and Kathy is here. Kathy has waited patiently. It's very nice of you. Thank you. I appreciate that. And good morning.
Good morning. I just thought I'd give you guys an update of what we've been doing in the last several months, because it's been a little while since I've done this, so it's kind of maybe a little boring, but I'll try to make it enthusiastic and exciting. So we've been doing lots of training. We've been getting employees. Jim has been there for a year now, and we've been getting him all trained up with VA systems. He's at the national conference now, so that's going well. I attended district training and getting more involved with our veteran service officers from the entire state and helping with a lot of our training and those aspects of things. So I'm putting together some training that we do. We have a spring and fall conference. So for this fall conference, I'll be a big part of putting together some of the training that we're going to be doing and getting the coordinators and those kinds of things. So that's kind of fun, something new and different. And I've been working a lot. I did take Jim to the service officer conference in spring, and I'm going to take Luann this fall. I think it's good for them to get to know some of the other counterparts that we work with, because I don't, now they're getting intermixing with our county employees, but it's also good for them to understand some of the other veteran service offices that we work with. When they're calling someone for help, it's just nice for them to know them. So if they can go to one every so often, I think it's kind of nice, rather than just going to the piece where they've always attended just the administrative portion, and they don't get a lot out of that from what I've heard from them. So I'd like them, I always like, if I'm not there, for the people that work for me to be able to answer questions and not be like, I don't know what to do type thing. I don't want people to be waiting for an answer. So I think this is working well. Been working a little bit with Public Health Social Services on the community assessment team. I put together a brochure for exercise stuff. I used to teach fitness classes, so it was kind of my cup of tea to put together this project that we're working on to help with child obesity and getting families together doing exercises without having to spend money going to a gym and that kind of thing. So it's a fun little project and brochure that we put together. So some teamwork, we got it looking nice. The transportation program with the DAV, that's been going wonderful. We've got the van parked there. We've got some volunteers from Morrison County. So that started back in March or April, but it's been going very well. I've heard a lot of positive feedback. I've encouraged a lot of other county BSOs to try this program out too. I think it saves a lot of time on our part, saves money. We don't have to deal with like the old van that we used to have. We don't have to deal with all those extra stressors of coordinating transportation. Basically, we refer people to the DAV, they coordinate everything. It's so slick. I love it. All we have to do is provide a parking spot. I don't know how that could be any easier. So
Kathy, excuse me, just for the sake of argument, and I'm clear on what DAV stands for, Disabled American Veterans.
Right, yep.
So technically, do you have to be a disabled American veteran to qualify to get a ride under that? Or if you are a veteran, is that enough?
A veteran is enough, so you don't have to be. They help any veterans, but that's the name of their organization type thing.
It's not just singled out.
Right. Yep.
Okay. Very good. Thank you.
Yep. And attended a legislative meeting at the state capitol and took some elderly veterans. We went together, and that was it was a good experience. I hadn't been to Veterans Day on the Hill, so that was something different a while back. Been doing some speaking at different veterans organizations. I do that quite a bit. I went out to Piers and did a talk there with their Legion and some community people. I also had an event in May for May Day. It didn't go over as well as far as participation. The one thing I was impressed with, though, we had like 8 people during the afternoon and few people in the evening, but despite that, I had a lot of phone calls. So the people that were there really liked the presentation that I gave. It was very informational, especially spouses, those types of people. It gave them a little more insight on the benefits that we offer. So I wanted to get that out. And those are kind of the people I was looking at reaching, because a lot of times that spouse listens a little more than the veteran, or, you know, it's just nice to have 2 ears, I guess. And reaching out to some of our younger veterans and making sure that they, as soon as they're done with their initial training, they come in and see us, especially with a lot of incoming and outgoing deployments. If we can get all the paperwork in our office right away, and then they don't have to, when they're in crisis mode, they don't have to be scrambling to find everything that they need. It makes things easier. So trying to get people to come see us as soon as they can and alleviate some of those stressors when they are in a crisis. And been doing regular Camp Ripley visits. I've been working with the family assistance group there and kind of in their office, which works really nice, and it gives us a little more time to work together because we do help a lot of families together. So it's been very beneficial that way. Did a presentation with that, recorded the May Day event that I did, the informational session with the Little Falls TV station, Mark over there, and we incorporated some different videos and stuff with veterans programs, so I think it'll be nice for people to view that, and if they weren't there, they can watch it on TV and get some great information from us. And also I sent out the YouTube link, so I think that'll be useful as well. And working with Cass County and Todd County on NJPA grant request. So we'll be presenting, I think that's already next week if I remember correctly. So that's coming up, and kind of taking the lead on that. I didn't plan on that, but suddenly I am, and that's all right. And what else have we been doing? Still doing a lot of the radio things. That's been going well. I've been helping some other counties. A lot of our surrounding counties have more male CVSOs, so when they've had issues with individuals that are working through sexual assault cases, sometimes they've asked me to come in and talk with some individuals, or they'll send them to me, and that's been well. I've done a lot of training and dealt with that quite a bit, so it's been useful and helpful. So a lot of teamwork between a few of us. And what else have I, Luann, she took over the clothing drive. Thank you for everybody that donated. That went very well. That again the clothing went to benefit the disabled American veterans, and that was really a great thing. They filled up the entire trailer, so very cool.
That was a nice effort. It was ended up being a fundraiser for MCA, the county employee organization, and the total raised was what, Tabby, do you remember offhand?
$587.60.
Yeah, so it was a good response. Well, thankfully, Luann took that upon herself, organized that. It was a tremendous amount of effort, and then employees responded very generously, and so it was good. It was a good event. It was fun.
Got all of our, we did our annual appraisals. What I do quarterly is I sit down with the employees. I try to quarterly or semi-annually, and we go through their goals, how they've done, if there's any issues, those types of things, and just record that and turn that in with the annual appraisals. But the employees like that. They'd like to know how they're doing and get some feedback periodically if they're doing a good job, or if they're not, we can talk about those things and work through those, or if they need additional training, or if I'm not doing something right, I like them to be able to provide that feedback and feel comfortable that they can share that information with me, because no one's perfect, and I want to know if I'm not doing a good job. So we've been doing that quite a bit, and they do like that, so we'll continue. And worked with the Camp Ripley Safety Day, did some of those things. We are going through the process right now, and I didn't have that on here, but the property tax exclusion for veterans. Been working with the assessor's office, Julie Shellstad, and what we've done, every county's Veteran Service Office is doing this a little different, but basically what we have to do as VSOs is we have to verify everyone that is getting the property tax exclusion, so that's anyone that's getting a 70% or higher compensation from the VA if they were hurt through the VA. And so it's a big job. There's a lot of people that are on the list. It used to be the veteran was responsible. They would bring in their paperwork every year and fill those out. Well, now it's more on the Veteran Service Officer. I don't know that I necessarily like that or agree with it, because there's no way that I can ever be 100% accurate, quite honestly, because there's people that live in other counties who maybe deal with me and vice versa, and so it's just, a little interesting, but we're working through it. We've got our spreadsheet, and what Julie gave me, everyone that she's had in the past that have come to see her, and then when I know that there's someone that has moved into that category or has moved to a different house or something like that, we try to keep the spreadsheet as accurate as we can, but there's just no way. I've explained that a million times to other veteran service officers. We're never going to be accurate.
Kathy, explain that a little bit to me if you can, please. I really didn't know that there was such a thing as a veterans, what did you call it,
Property tax exclusion.
What do you have to do? Is this another DAV thing, or is this a veteran thing?
So this is a veteran thing if
Not
someone
sure.
is disabled. Say like if they were hurt in
I think
service.
you hit it right in the head. So it's a connected thing with the DAV.
Right, and not everybody that, you have to have a 70%, so you're 70% disabled or higher.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's what I was looking
And
for.
it's an exclusion on your value of your property to help with property tax.
And then it would be, if you were 70%, then it would be, probably works hand in hand, I don't know, but that's how, you have to have that qualifier.
Right.
That's
Right.
what I mean.
And then they have to fill out an application and bring in their paperwork. But it is definitely a time-consuming job. But I've been having Luann and Jim kind of take parts of that and help me out a little bit, so, and trust that they're going to be right. But that's all right. I trust them.
And they hold you responsible for keeping that up to date? It doesn't fall on the veteran himself?
No.
That's a big responsibility put on you.
Right, because I don't know if they move. I mean, not everybody tells me if they move, so I don't know. I've kind of provided my feedback to the VA, the state VA, and said, I just don't think this is, it's crazy. It's
not.
Doesn't even make sense.
Well, Mr. Chair, wasn't it a DOR change that required that process? They didn't want to have, they wanted to take the onus off the veteran to have to qualify for that, or what? Wasn't it a DOR directive with the appraising practice is how I understood it.
Could be. I don't totally understand where it all came from, but I know I don't like it. Put it that way.
I mean, it's something more to do with that in terms of how the assessor's office has to verify that information, or how they have to, well, I think verify that information is the impetus on that, but we can get more information and from the assessor's office kind of give you a background as to the why, but I think it had something to do with making it easier for the veteran themselves in terms of taking the onus off them.
Yeah, I believe it would be easier on them.
Yes.
But do you think they would also be more apt to make sure everything gets done too, where you don't know if they move, or you don't know, I mean.
Or if the veteran died and the widow, they can keep that exclusion unless they move or get remarried. There's just so many factors that can go into this, and I'm like, holy gosh. But, we will deal with it. It's okay.
Yeah, all right. Thank you.
Yeah, but that's, any questions that you guys have or anything that has been going on in the last few months that
Looks to me like you're keeping plenty busy.
Yeah. Loving what I'm doing, so definitely.
Excellent.
Kathy.
Thanks, Kathy.
Thank you. Good report. And I would look to take care of all the bills, the warrants.
And there's a change that Joyce had sent just as a reminder on how we approve that. There'll be a different note in the minutes for that. You always approve the warrants on a biweekly basis, and then there's commissioner warrants which get presented and aren't paid until you approve them. And then there's a thing called auditor warrants that are sent out on a weekly basis because they're bills that need to be kept up. We need to just record that a little differently as a requirement from the state auditors. And so it's that includes all any credit card payments or anything like that occur, expense reports that you submit on a periodic basis are approved through this process too, and each noted separately. But just, she sent that note out there for you guys. If you have questions, we can certainly get clarification on that. But just a slight change in the recording.
So when we're making the motion is, or it needs to be, to pay for absolutely all the bills.
Which are commissioner warrants, auditor warrants, expenses, and credit card payments.
So my question is, do we have to say commissioner's warrants?
I don't believe
we
that
understood
we do,
that,
as long as
understand
we
that to be the case.
understand
It's recorded in our minutes. I don't know that you need to say that. Just understand that that's what the process is.
As long as we're very clear that it is for all of the bills.
And Joyce
all
said-
of the expenses maybe is even a better word. I'm not sure.
Yep.
Bills, expenses, whatever it would be.
And if you have questions on any particular component, now's the time to bring those up and we can get clarification on them.
I would look for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion and a second to pay
All the bills.
all the bills, the expenses.
Expenses.
And is there any further discussion? Bills need to get paid. Hearing no further discussion, those in favor, this is a roll call. Commissioner Blaine?
Commissioner Blaine votes aye.
Wilson?
Aye.
Lemire?
Aye.
Wincher?
Aye.
And myself is an aye. That motion passes. Thank you. Brings us to Ms. Gruber and the administrator's report.
I don't have any action items, but we did just get an email I wanted to kind of go through as a response from the Chaminade lid. I had asked questions. We had talked about it briefly the other day at our planning session regarding some of the thoughts on moving forward in a timeline. So just as a note, it looks like they're...
You're talking about the email that we just received this morning?
That you received, yes. Yep. That way we can kind of just chat quick, and if there's anything you want me to follow up with. It looks like they're going to approach Todd County to get to a county board meeting and ask for a declaration of support, which is something that we talked about previously. And so I certainly will likely reach out to Todd County as a neighbor and make sure that they're aware of what we're doing as a whole. I know Commissioner Barb. I can't read her last name is drawing a blank with me, but if there's an opportunity or if they have any questions of me, I'll make sure I reach out for that. They did meet with the Crookneck Lid, or the Lake Association. I don't know if anybody was in attendance. Commissioner Lemire, you didn't go, did you?
No. No.
It sounds like they met with the Chaminade board, it looks like. They need some more clarification on the project. They'll be sending a newsletter. The Chaminade Lake Association or LID will be sending a newsletter to the Crookneck membership in June to provide more information, and they'll be continuing to work with the Crookneck board to determine a time frame in seeking that declaration of support, which is again something we've talked to them about for quite some time. It looks like they're going to work with Lake Alexander LID to seek a letter of support. Along with Fish Trap, hopefully in June and July.
Can I interrupt? And
Yes.
I'm good at that, Deb.
Yes.
They sent that email about Crookneck Lid Board, probably when was that? Back on June 2nd, someone sent that. I don't know, what makes no difference who it was. And I'm just reading it again. It says, at our meeting, we talked through the items that you included in your email. Well, it's really kind of vague what they did on this. And like I say, Commissioner Lemire said he wasn't even known about it, That's what I'm saying. It just seems like they're just kind of giving vague information about what Crookneck, what we required or not required, but requesting from Crookneck.
And then she had indicated she was following up with more detail, and that's what this email is that we're looking at together right now.
Yeah, I seen that one too.
So it looks like they're going to work with the LIDs for the various lake associations. Scandia Valley Township, they're also looking to have a letter by the end of June for support. And their downstream property owners was another request to take a look at those and make sure that they are seeking actual, I think in writing is what I've heard you guys say. It would be nice to have documented support with that. And then also other interested parties that we asked about. So I appreciate the fact that they've addressed those and kind of acknowledged those specifics. And then the property owner survey. As you've discussed and we've discussed, you've directed that we actually conduct that ourselves to get some direct communication with them. So I think we're going to continue down that route unless I hear different from you, but I would like to, the thought is that we'd hear back with some of these other letters of support to make sure that we're understanding what any concerns might be by those entities, and I think those are also entities that we can reach out to directly once we understand more of the overall support that's out there for that. So I'll continue to work with Cindy on that. It looks as if they have a draft survey and letter and postcard that they'd send out. They would, they're offering obviously, to send those out and have them returned to the county. I think it's something we've identified that we'd like to manage ourselves, but we'll work with them to make sure we're capturing all the information that we need. And that would come to you prior to that going out in the coming months, really, because it'll take some time over the summer to get those other letters of support. So that's what we're working on now with that project. I know that's been something we've discussed a number of times, so just wanted to ask if anybody has any other thoughts or any questions.
When you say waiting for the other letters from the other people to take months, wouldn't we want to do kind of our survey of the people, whether they want this project or not first? Because, I mean, if it comes into where they don't support it, then why would they go to all the other people?
Well, it's kind of a chicken and egg question.
Yeah.
And so I guess the thought that when I talked with Amy Kowalczyk and Mark Anderson from the DNR with that, and after we had spoke at our planning session, we sat down to try to come up with some ideas on what types of survey questions to ask. And then it occurred to me that, well, maybe we ought to wait for what we've already asked for, to make sure Todd County's in support, to make sure some of these other larger entities are in support.
Gotcha.
And if they are, then we can know for sure when we're talking to those property owners that we can ask some direct questions regarding what their interests or concerns might be. And so, you know, to put a lot of effort into that without knowing for sure if these major agencies or political entities are in support, I thought maybe we could wait.
Well, they got more information then to make a decision too.
Yep, or to know what to ask also, I think.
And my personal, Mr. Chair, that postcard that they're sending out, I don't agree with. I mean, it's so vague, you know. I agree with, I want the project to move level or move forward.
You know what, I didn't even look at that actually.
It says, I am concerned about the high water level and I am in favor of the project. That's one, or I am not in favor of the project. It's like, okay, well, why would you, hey, it's going to cost me roughly, they didn't even put anything in there, so to me that's...
And I think that's kind of what I've heard you identify time and time again, that there's more than just a yes and no. I think there's more information that we know of about other options that might exist in exploring those. There might be some more detail about cost that actually is going to be impacted and how that moves out. So I think that oversimplification of it from the lid in terms of yes and no is something I've heard you say, but we kind of want to know a little bit more. And
well,
so
even if you look at, I'm concerned about the high water level and I am in favor of the project, knowing that I am going to be taxed such and such, whatever, forever.
And there'll be a maintenance forever and ever.
You know, maybe it sounds kind of dumb to say it that way, but then I know what I'm saying yes to, other than, am I concerned about the high water? Yep, I am.
yes. I think there's likely, we can certainly use a tool to learn more than just a simple yes or no. And so that's what we were intending, at least bringing you some information that would really get to the heart of what I've heard you say time and again on what you're curious about.
But they're not sending out their postcard and then...
Not that I know of.
Okay.
That's not of, I will let them know that this isn't what we're looking for. Thank you.
We're looking for the full story.
Yes.
When we send it out.
We'll send out.
Which will be.
If we send it out.
Yes, if we send it out, and what we send out would be something that you would have opportunity to have input on. We'll talk about that before that goes out. And again, in a response to what their plan is in the next number of months to deal with some of those townships and lids in Todd County.
I would think, though, that we want to, if we're going to send out a letter of support, we need to do that before people start leaving to go south again, when you're talking about months. You know what I mean? We've had that discussion before. A lot of people leave for the winter. So I guess that I would like to have that decision made sometime before that time period.
Yep, and I would think that given, it also would be before the approval or consideration of their 2019 budget also, which is going to include dollars. So in my mind, which, correct me if I'm wrong, we'll give them the next couple of months, June and July, to talk with some of these other entities, and hopefully we'll be getting some results, which in their mind would be letters of support that this is moving forward, which is exactly what they're looking for and what they need to have. And then from that, we would work with you guys to develop that direct communication to these different parties, whether it be property owners or interested entities that ask particular questions, and have that back before like in the August, September timeframe,
okay.
knowing that they'll have their annual meeting during that time. But I think before you actually approve what's addressed in that, you want your feedback directly because of the scope of this project. And I think that's something you'd want to consider, because even what's been proposed by them as the 2019 expenditure potential is multiple times more than what an annual budget would be for them when it comes to invasive species and normal activity. So I think that's reasonable to go a little bit deeper in terms of talking to those residents or getting information from those residents about what they want to see. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
Well, it's nice to see that they listened to you, particularly you, Mike, when you said you want to know the support of the community before you move forward. And we told them time and again to get letters of support from Todd County and Crook Neck Lake owners, and it's nice to see that they're going to move forward with that. Instead of spending $300,000, they can get this stuff for free, and it looks like they're moving forward, and they heard us, and look forward to seeing the information that they bring forward.
Yeah, good. All right, that's the plan of attack on that one.
What else?
What else? Continuing to work with the building project. They are painting on the first level. Should be moving to the basement level or lower level soon with painting. They were finishing up the mudding last week. It's coming along, so that's good. It's lots to learn and see every time. We have continued meetings with the different areas for general overall furniture discussions. What will happen is that we need to have those discussions to find out what to bid overall, because we'll need to place that first order for that building that's being worked on now, the 70s building, in the next month or so. However, it'll be kind of aggregated a bit with the entire project, because it'll get to price points for that, even though we know there'll be things that we're going to have to maybe add or subtract based upon how everything plays out with some of the details. But overall, we want an idea. So number one, we can know whether we're going forward with certain things or whether we need to scrub that a bit. And then also, oh, I just lost my train of thought. I'm sure it was just riveting. What was I going to say? Anyway, what was I saying?
That's the age group.
I think you're okay.
Okay, well, anyway, furniture, we're talking about it. How's that? Okay. Oh, that's going to happen Wednesday, along with another construction meeting, which we have every other week with the main contractors. So everybody pulls together with that. We're meeting with the Sheriff's Office and working on a recent Department of Corrections directive about their camera system. So we're preparing that yet. I know I've alluded to that in the past, but you'll have the opportunity to hear more about that and decide whether that's something we want to move forward with in the coming weeks, too.
Question, Deb, this Otter Tail, is that something that we should go to see individually, or would we want to plan?
Oh, Commissioner Winter had asked last meeting about whether or not there were other counties that have implemented sound management systems. And Brad happened to come from a county prior to him being coming back to Morrison County, because it's one of the greatest counties to work. He converted and was part of the conversion in Otter Tail, a remodel that moved from individual offices to cubicle spaces. And he said, oh yeah, they implemented a sound management system to help deal and combat the noise. So that's one example of a county. We're still working on others, but I had asked him if he has any idea, and he's like, well, yeah, I did it, or we did it in Otter Tail County. So that was one example. I am reaching out, and I haven't been playing phone tag with the vendor about whether or not there's somebody else local that would have that to be able to see and hear. So, yeah, if you want to go and see that, or you want to talk to somebody, by all means, I can give you contact information for them.
That's what I'd want, contact.
Like, do you want...
Just whoever maybe installed it, or not installed it, but who was in charge of installing it, as far as the
or like
department
the company?
head. No, department head. So they're, so if it was somebody from social services.
At the time, I will get you John Dinsmore. John Dinsmore was the social services director there, who is now the county administrator for Otter Tail. So
perfect.
I will work with him. I think he is. Yeah. John
And
Dinsmore.
if you want to take a trip down there to take a look at that, by all means do so.
Mm-hmm.
To hear it.
Or not.
Or not hear it.
Or
Yes.
not. Absolutely.
All right. But if I hear more, I'll let you know. I'm working on it. What else?
I think that's about it.
Okay. Other than feeling a little crawly here, we're
Yeah,
good.
a few
There's
ants.
little ants.
Next item of business is going to be calendars, gentlemen. Today, we get to start with Commissioner
You gonna tell them what day?
Oh, yes, I am. We're going to start with Commissioner Wincher. And before you ask, June 10th and through the 23rd.
All right, let's open up the... Hey. Okay, on the 11th, District 5 AMC meeting in Crow Wing County, and that's going to be, I got the address, if somebody wants the address, I got the address too for that.
Time?
That's at 8 o'clock. And then we have a planning session on the 12th at 8:30. And the Board of Equalization, that'll be here too.
Yep.
At 5 o'clock. On Wednesday, there's a department head at 8:30. And then I'll be at the St. Cloud and Extension meeting for AMC at 11 o'clock.
What day?
Down in St. Cloud on the 13th. It goes through the 23rd. On the 19th, we have a board at 9. I have a Great River Regional Library at 5 o'clock in St. Cloud on the 19th. And then I'm heading on to Wisconsin Dells, so.
Excellent.
You want a little water park?
Water park with the grandkids.
Commissioner Lemire.
The 11th, Yellow Ribbon at Cabin Fever. There's a department head meeting at 8:30 on the 13th. Board meeting 20th, the Norwegian Exchange, Camp Ripley at 5:30. 23rd, Fish Trap Lid meeting. That's it.
What time is that?
That is at 9 a.m.
And where?
It's at the Scandia Valley Town Hall, I believe it's called.
I think it is, yep. I think that's what I read, Scandia Valley Town Hall. Commissioner Wilson?
We've got community develop on the 19th at 12:15, and Dairy Princess at the ballroom on the 22nd.
What time is that?
What's that?
Dairy Princess?
Contest at the ballroom on the 22nd. I want to say it's at 6 o'clock. I'm not. But I had a phone call and was requested. Yes. I'm a judge.
Good for you.
I'm not.
Anything further?
If you're going to lie good.
Go ahead.
An airport commission on the 21st?
I'm sorry,
Is
what?
there an airport commission on the 21st?
Oh, okay, yep. I don't have it on my calendar, but thank you for telling me.
And then is there a TCC that night at 5?
Yes, there is, but I won't be there. I will not be there, so I just figured.
So you just didn't put it down. Is that, oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, we're getting there.
Oh, Mike, anything further?
Nope, that's it.
Commissioner Blaine?
I think we've covered everything, but Mr. Chair, I'll ask you to make note that I will not be able to be here for our board meeting on the 19th, and ask that I be excused.
It is noted.
Thank you.
It is noted, and certainly you are excused. There are other things that come up in this lifetime, and you can't make them all. That is why we have 5 commissioners, and I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Anything further?
Do you have Mississippi Headwaters that Friday, the 22nd?
I am.
I have Mississippi.
Mike will, but I am not. I am not the representative on Mississippi Headwaters. Mike
I will
is.
have Mississippi Headwaters, yes. It's not on my calendar either, but.
Mike, you should get one of these, then they go.
Anything further? Either one of you?
No. Otherwise, everything else. This week is my really busy week, especially the next.
Okay.
I have one, again, Tabitha just brought that up, like, no, I will not be at the TCC meeting. Do you want us to tell you that regardless?
No, I was just checking.
Oh, okay.
So I just, sometimes they say I won't.
That's nice that you do that here too, to keep us on track. I appreciate that immensely.
Didn't you send us something like my Mississippi headwaters and that? Shouldn't that be on my calendar for all year because of the same dates?
I can look into it.
Okay.
Sometimes they cancel. Sometimes, I don't know if you guys are taking them off because they're canceled, so if they're not on there, I just come here and check with you, but.
Well,
I can
and
put
the
them all on.
airport, sometimes we meet every other month because there's not much to go over, but Mississippi is usually every month. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, just as a note, I did put out a reminder to you for those strategic planning session dates. The confirmation or the details will come yet, but I'm looking to schedule them on July 10th and on July 17th, 2 Tuesdays in a row. I'm going to shoot for beginning at 11, depending upon when the board meeting and when the planning session end, but just to get people there, we will have sessions that run through then the afternoon. So plan till probably about 3 o'clock. I met with Brian Myers, who's going to work with us on that yesterday, and started planning for that. And I'm excited and thank you for supporting that process, because I think it will be good for everyone.
It was the 10th and what, Deb?
The 17th, 2 Tuesdays in a row in July. We're trying to find a venue for sure that'll work, something in town here, considering our limitations.
I have community development on the 17th, but I'll cancel that unless they don't have a quorum, then I might have to run there for a few minutes.
Okay.
So that's at 12:15.
That was the best day, given all the options to make those work.
Or are you starting like at 11 or 12? Or
We're going to start at 11. Both
stopping
days
for
is what
lunch? I guess that's the point.
I'll have it there as part of the meeting.
I'll work it out.
Any more on schedules? My turn?
Yep.
On the 12th at noon, I have a Towards Zero Death at Public Health, I'm sorry. On the 13th, at 10 o'clock in the morning, I've got a ESB meeting. That's an executive committee, and at 1 o'clock, the full board meets in St. Cloud. On the 14th, at 6 p.m., I've got a trails meeting. I believe that's at Cabin Fever, although I somehow or another got off the email list and I'm working on that, but that's what it should be.
Okay.
On the 20th, at 5 o'clock, I've got a Hands of Hope meeting in Todd County. The 21st, at 10 o'clock, I've got an Armor Owners and Operators meeting in Douglas County. At 7:30 on the 21st, I've got an Egg Society meeting. And other than what everybody else has said, we should be good.
Okay. Mr. Chair, I did get an answer and was correct in the fact that the state law did change not to burden veterans with an annual exclusion application. And so they are looking to which is also a state-required obligation of county governments to have a VSO officer verify those disability applications or disability status of the veterans. So it is a law change, again, to help with the burden on individual veterans. We'll see how that works.
Okay, very good. Is there anything else for the goodness of the cause, or for the good of the cause, I think is how it's been?
Mr. Chair, I'll move to adjourn.
Motion?
Second.
And a second. Discussion? Hearing none. Those in favor?
Aye.
Adjourned at 11:05.